Why are you holding the
Alrighty,
microphone?
folks.
It does nothing.
Talk About Balls is here. We are live on the YouTube sphere. We got a packed show today, as always. This is how we're going to operate over the next whoever knows long. But today, we're talking NFL rule changes. We're grading each team's free agency as that has dwindled down. March Madness is updated. My bracket sucks like all y'all's. The best postseason in sports. What is it with March Madness starting and the NBA playoffs starting and whatnot? Caleb Williams has gotten into some controversy, as always. Is the man gay? We don't know. And the flip side of it, what did the Bears do with Caleb Williams, or excuse me, Justin Fields? Was it a good decision? Antonio Pierce had a nice comment, not nice, but an interesting comment about J. McCarthy. We'll talk about, and then some of these teams are looking pretty good. But let's start off with these NFL rule changes. I'm not the only one here. Wayne is here as well. He just doesn't want to be on camera. I'd understand if I was as ugly as him, I wouldn't want to be either.
Yes.
But there's two rule changes in the National Football League. The first one is the hip drop tackle, which
Wow, this video is really good.
looks like it looks like it was developing over the years, and now we're seeing it. I don't really know what to think about it. I don't think we overreact way too much on this. Oh, it's going to ruin the game. Oh my, I'm not watching this year. You're going to watch. You'll be there. It won't ruin the game. So my opinion on it is it what I would do? No. Am I still going to watch? Yes. Am I going to complain that much? Not really. It's something like the pass interference stuff. Not the pass interference, but the roughing the passer, where you just kind of get over it, right, at some point. I don't care all that much about it. Wayne, your take on the hip drop tackle.
Like this, it's the video's automatically like that. If you set it like this, it'll switch because your phone's set rotated. So I didn't know where your phone was at.
We're having some technical difficulties. So you're telling me set it like this?
Yeah. So then it should fix itself. And then if you hold it sideways, it will be like this.
All right.
In actual portrait mode.
We are changing it. Hello, Colby Rouch. We'll get to your questions. We'll get rid of your what? We'll get to your questions in a little bit, but we have business to handle. Your thoughts on the hip drop tackle. He says it's a great move. I don't know if that's a great move. I'm not too deep into the sphere of knowing if it actually hurts the players or anything like that. I've never gotten hip drop tackled in my life. Probably have, but I just don't I just got hip drop tackled.
Do you want to try that?
No. Your thoughts on the old hip drop tackle?
I get what the NFL's doing. They're trying to ensure player safety, but at the same time, you're playing football. The injuries are a part of. We're not in a sponsor dealership here with
Yes,
Coca-Cola yet.
But
I feel like they're trying to ensure player safety, but at the same time, this is tackle football. This is what they've been playing. This is what they've signed up for, playing NFL football, that injuries will happen.
I think
it's like the NBA. It's like injuries are going to happen. It's like banning dunking. But like, I tried to think of a good analogy. I couldn't get one. But
my takeaway is wait to see what it happens. Like, if it is every other play, hip drop tackle, blah, 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 it's fine. Or not fine, but like, if it's rare, you see it like twice a game, it doesn't really matter. And I'm interested to see, because like roughing the passer, this is a very subjective play. You can't there's not a set in stone, that's what a hip drop tackle is. That's what roughing the passer is. So my biggest takeaway is you're putting it more into the ref's hands, which I'm not that much of a fan of.
No.
The subjective calls, pass interference, basically almost every call, right? Some calls are cut and dry. Okay, offsides, he was offsides. Yes. He was
like
holding
Kadarius
right there.
Toney against the Bills.
He was offsides there. He was holding. Pass interference is subjective, down to the official. Roughing the passer, now the hip drop tackle is. That's my big takeaway with this is that it's coming more down to the officials, which I personally am not a huge fan of. Let's move on to the next rule, and I think out of the two rules, of course, the hip drop tackle's gotten more coverage, but this new kickoff rule that they're taking from the XFL, the kicker is going to be at the 35 where he usually is, and the two teams will be on the opposite 35 and 30, and then they'll have the return man. Still same rules with the touchback that they had last year, in the fact of if it is within the 25, it's still going to be, a touchback. But now I think this is way more exciting for the NFL, that from last year, we basically didn't see any returns in anywhere in the NFL, and we are getting that back with this new rule. Your thoughts on this new rule, and will it be more exciting for the NFL?
I like the rule. Hopefully, there's a lot more kick returns that happen, and the concern with the NFL was player safety again with kick returns for concussions and everything. Hopefully, this eliminates most of those concussions, and returners will actually want to return the ball a lot more often, and hopefully, there's a lot more touchbacks.
Well thought out response, and I don't want to pat myself on the back, but I'm going to. A couple of months ago, we did a problem solution paper in English class. My problem was you were not, at least to my knowledge. My problem was the kickoffs in the NFL caused way too many concussions. My main solution in the problem solution essay was to take from the XFL and use their rule. And Roger Goodell must have read that essay, even though it wasn't public, which is probably a security issue on my part. I should have kept it safe. And he said, "Hey, I'm gonna now."
I should have trademarked it.
I'm gonna now go. Well, it's not my idea. It's the XFL's.
Shut up.
I'm gonna now go and use it. So thank you, Roger. But I think the main takeaway here, we're going to see a lot of scoring increasing now in the NFL, right?
Especially without the hip drop tech. No, I'm kidding.
Last year, the scoring was down, which is a opposite trend of what it's been. It's been scoring up and up and up and up. We had a down year. This year, with just, I think, an average return now, this next year is going to be like the 30 to 32 yard line, which is 7 more yards than would it be last year, which 7 yards, whatever, but over the course of a season, 7 yards every drive on average is going to be a lot different. And I think some of the most exciting plays, there's not anything more exciting in the NFL than an opening play kickoff
I hope
touchdown.
there's a lot more kick returns.
And we can, the guys, the Devin Hesters, the Josh Cribbs, the Cordero Pattersons of the world, the guys that are electric returners, we're going to see more of them now, which
it's going to be like Kevontae Turpin in the NFL. It's going to be some people that you've never heard of returning kicks.
Probably because that's how they make their name. But I think that is a huge underlying factor. Scoring is going to go up, right? And teams are going to now. We'll have to see what the data says over the next couple of years. But I think teams are going to go higher and higher in terms of paying their return guys. Could we see more athletic guys coming in and returning? Yes, which we haven't seen really in the past at all. But I think this allows for another, we always say offenses are getting better right now with the new rule changes. This favors the offense in a sense that the special teams have a better ability. You're going to see returns. I think that is, as stupid as it may sound, that was the NFL's goal here. They want returns, right? And if you watched an NFL game this past year, after the extra point is kicked, they obviously go to commercial. They could have stayed in commercial 95% of the time until the team's offense takes the drive. It is a non-existent play. There's 10 to 15% of kickoff returns happening. Not even getting a good return, happening, and they usually were not good decisions. So I think that's a good move. Adding basically just another extra play into an NFL game, making it more exciting. There's nothing better than seeing a guy go through the blockers, get down to the end zone. So that's our takes on that. Let's get into the free agency. Free agency is basically done. The dust has settled, and all 32 teams. For now, when we get finished recording this,
OBJ.
This will probably be a big free agent news. By the way, Michaela, I don't like you, so get off the stream. Anyway. Free agent predictions, not predictions, but grading. So we all have our letter grades from all 32 teams. Of course, Wayne doesn't because he doesn't take this thing seriously. I got to put the team on my back once again. Just kidding. Or not. Let's start off with the Arizona.
I'm like the point guard. I'm the flashy player.
You ain't flashy, buddy. Let's start off with the Arizona Cardinals. Some key additions they made. They were get Sean Murphy Bunting. That's really it, honestly. They have Jonah Williams, who's fine, 2 years, $30 million. Justin Jones on the defensive line. I thought that said 301 million. It says 30.1, but 3 years, 301 million would be a lot of money. But it's 3 years, 30.1.
That's like 100 million a
Yeah,
year.
it is. The Cardinals don't move the needle for me at all. They did not make a splash at all, which sometimes is fine. They can build the young group that they have, and that is fine. I'm going to give them a C minus, a little bit below average. It's fine. It's nothing special. They didn't move on from many people, and they're still in a spot where if you get Kyler a weapon and an offensive line and some defense, which is basically 90% of the team, they could be pretty solid. C minus. Don't hate it. Don't love it. C minus.
I'll give them a flat C.
Flat C.
Like you said, it's not
It's okay.
flashy. It's
Yeah.
not nothing. They added corner, which they needed some help with that.
Mm-hmm.
They really need to attack this draft with
Ferocity.
for their team to improve.
The one word I'd use to describe the Cardinals' free agency is forgettable. If I didn't have this website up here with the trades or the free agency signings, I couldn't tell you one person they signed. So shout out to CBS Sports, but this guy in the top right here is not stopping talking. Anyway, the Atlanta Falcons, my new favorite team, as Kirk Cousins has left to go to the Vikings. I go wherever Kirk goes. Just kidding. But the Atlanta Falcons, they were in a spot where they had these young guys, and they say, all right, our window's open, our window's open, our window's open. Like a real window, a window you have to open. You actually have to manually open it, right? You could say it's opening, it's opening, it's opening, until you actually manually open it. That might be the worst analogy I've ever had, because that made no sense. But the Atlanta Falcons pulled their hand under the window and opened it. They opened their window. They had the pieces with Bijan Robinson, with Kyle Pitts, with Drake London, and of course their big signing, getting Charlie Warner for 3 years, $12 million. Their big splash. No, getting Kirk Cousins for 4 years, $180 million. This was
Kirk's agent is in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, his contract is a necessary evil. Is it a lot of money? Yes. Do you have to do it to make moves and to win in this league?
Yes.
Yes. I think the Falcons identified the division as weak, or they could say, we think the division is better than what we expected. Buccaneers look to be pretty solid. Saints are looking okay, and then there's a team in Carolina that I forget. We're not going to talk about them. But Atlanta said, hey, since Matt Ryan, we've been moving on from quarterback to quarterback to quarterback. Let's get a guy we can have for 4 years. And I think we mentioned it on the podcast a couple weeks ago. I'm not sure if it got uploaded or not because I sucked at that. That's why we're here live. But I like it being a 4-year deal because you give yourselves margin for error, right? In year one, Kirk Cousins coming in. Of course, we've seen guys have success in year one. Most recently, Brady, year one with the Bucs, Super Bowl. Stafford, year one with the Rams, Super Bowl. But Kirk Cousins, I'll make a bold prediction. He's not going to do that with the Atlanta Falcons. So it gives him, hey, we don't get it year one, we got 3 more years of Kirk. We don't get it year 2, we got 2 more years. We don't get it year 3, we got a year left. It's a 4-year deal, structured real well. They got Darnell Mooney and Rondell Moore. Solid enough pieces. The offense is in place to succeed. I give them a B+.
I'll give them a flat B. You
love being flat.
Well, okay.
You love being flat. Why do you like being flat?
But
I usually like more volume.
Okay.
You know.
Okay, shut up. They made great additions and
great additions is a B.
No, oh my god.
That sounds like an A+ to me.
Shut up.
They made a great addition.
Compared to what they had.
A great addition.
With Desmond Ridder at quarterback. Are you kidding
Yeah,
me?
I would agree with the great addition. I mean, they got Storm Norton, right? Which he's going to be
No, you're
great.
forgetting about Kadarius Hodge.
Kadarius Hodge, he's actually bad. But
really?
I just spit onto the phone.
Yeah, but a B. They made better additions to what they had, obviously, because you're going to make fun of me however way I word this. But help the team out. Getting rid of Arthur Smith was a great... Shut up.
Yep.
Arthur Smith was a great addition. It's going to be interesting to see what they do in the draft.
Yep, and they have a good pick number 8. So the Falcons feel like a team that's a B+ right now. Depending on the draft, they can get as high as an A+.
Yes.
Right, in a full off season. Of course, we'll get there when we do with the full off season. But Atlanta B plus, they've put themselves in a spot where they can now go out and succeed. Let's move on to the Baltimore Ravens. They got Justin Matabuke back, a big contract, but again, it was needed. The big one, of course, is Derrick Henry. They were lacking a rushing threat. They got tired of waiting on what's his name, J.K. Dobbins, to start to become a guy that's not injured
To
every
not
other
be
game.
last.
So they said, let's get the most durable running back in the league, and that's exactly what they did. So this is one where it's a higher grade for me than Atlanta because the Ravens didn't need to do much, right? When you're a team down there, teams making moves like the Bears and the Broncos and the Raiders, they're making moves because they need to. The Ravens really don't need to make moves, right? AFC Championship, they realize they have a couple of holes. Of course, they'll fill more in the draft. This is an A minus. They did what they needed to do. They brought their players back, and they signed Derrick Henry, who's one of the big fish free agents. So this is a perfectly fine free agency, A minus for me, and I think it has a chance. How you interpret it as an A plus.
I'm gonna give him a B plus.
B plus.
We got they.
Why
they
are you
got,
always half grade behind me? You more,
Do you want me to just do the same grade?
but you're basically doing the same grade.
No, I'm not.
Go
I'm
on.
giving a different insight
Go on,
than
mate.
you completely.
Go on, mate.
Oh my god. But kept Justin Matabuke, signed Derrick Henry, lost Patrick Queen, and we have Roquan Smith still, but
Yep.
we haven't added in some more of that defense that we needed. Like, we struggled with the secondary, mostly corners. Safeties were fine. Corners we struggled a decent amount with, so draft is still up. Still up to come. Hopefully the Ravens will either target a corner, linebacker, one of those.
I like the Ravens went out and got Derrick Henry because what makes me mad is like teams that were close, even if they don't add anybody, they could get worse because other teams got better. And the Baltimore, some other teams, like I remember when Green Bay drafted Jordan Love and A.J. Dillon, fine it wasn't fine for me at the time because they were just in an NFC Championship game, and they drafted Love, who wouldn't play for a couple of years, and A.J. Dillon, who wouldn't play for a couple of years. And I thought
They needed like something in that.
at the time they needed something now because they were in the conference championship game and they were kind of
For like 3
relying.
years.
They were kind of relying on Aaron Rodgers. Hey, he's going to get it done. He's going to get it done.
Maybe if Aaron Jones
And then he
didn't
left.
run inside.
So I like Baltimore saying, hey, we don't have to just rely on Lamar. Rely. We're going to get him help. We're going to get Derrick Henry, and we're going to continue to challenge Kansas City. And looking so far, right, we've seen Atlanta be aggressive, Arizona not that aggressive. The AFC teams are going to be very aggressive in this draft whenever. You could see a lot of teams trading out of the first round to get veteran players because that team in Kansas City is really tough to beat, and everybody in the AFC knows they have to run through them. Buffalo is up next. They signed a lot of players. They also lost a lot of players. I think another necessary evil. Jordan Poyer, Micah Hyde, Tre'Davious White. I think Taron Johnson too, right?
Yes, I'm pretty sure.
So 4 really big parts of their secondary group. They restructured a lot of guys. That Von Miller contract looks like maybe the worst one in the entire NFL right now. He's not even playing any snaps really for them. This is a team that made some moves. I think the best one for me is Curtis Samuel as a gadget type of guy. Probably replace Gabe Davis, which I think at a cheaper price tag is probably better for Buffalo. They brought back Deion Dawkins. They didn't make any splash moves. I'm going to give the Buffalo Bills. I have it written down as a B minus. I'm going to go to a C plus because they're not there in Kansas City yet. They're not the team the Chiefs are, and for them to really not make any big moves, and for their biggest guy to be Curtis Samuel. That is mad. That's mad to me, right? I don't like it because Buffalo is not in a spot where they can be complacent. They have to go out and make a splash, right? Remember when they made the playoffs 2 years in a row? They made a splash. They got Stephon Diggs. They made the conference title game. They need to do that again. It's not working, okay? You lose to Mahomes once, it's lucky. You lose to it second time, we're going to
They've
third.
lost to him like 5.
You lose them to him 3 times in the playoffs, there's something actually wrong with your team, okay? And not making any big moves, making gradual adjustments is not going to cut it when you got 15 on the other side.
screw you for changing your thing.
Oh,
because
nice.
I was going with a
When are you
C.
screwing me?
I was going with a C, and then you just changed everything. Oh, why are you only a half one behind? Well, I had this one before you, but
Going with a C?
yes, I have a C. They, like you were saying, they've lost over and over and over and over again in the playoffs. They're right there. They kept Deion Dawkins. I mean, Mitch Trubisky's going to make them win the Super Bowl.
And maybe.
But, like, they kept the people they already had, and they lost really good players. That got you there to the conference champion, or what was this divisional this year, but they made it. Yeah. You get there over and over again, you lose to Patrick Mahomes, you lose to a team, something happens, and you didn't, like, Curtis Samuel is probably their best player that they grabbed over free agency, and it's kind of going to fill in a Gabe Davis role, but I hope he does a lot better than Gabe Davis.
Yeah. My other problem with Buffalo is I think they're on the verge of blowing up as a team because let's look.
Most of their team is old, too. Like, a lot of their players are old.
Let's take it back to 2020. All right, this was a young, fresh, hey, this team's going to win a lot of games, right? When we're talking about a future of a team, it's always optimistic. Right now with the Texans, we think, oh, boy, they're going to be Super Bowl contenders every single year. It's not always like that in the NFL. That's what it's been for Buffalo. All right, so you lose in 2021, we'll get them next year, right? We lose in 2022, we'll get them next year. Saying we'll get them next year after you haven't gotten them next year is kind of less effective because, like, if the Texans say, hey, we'll get them next year, that's a message that the team's going to be like, yeah, we will, right? Because we weren't expected to be good, and now we are. But if you're Buffalo and you're saying we'll get them next year for 4 or 5 years in a row now, when's next year actually going to be next year, right? When is it actually going to be the year you put it all together? Because right now it has not happened. One conference title game appearance ain't going to cut it, buddy. Ain't going to cut it. Mahomes has outplayed Allen every time they've played. It's not enough for me. Let's move on to Carolina. They made a lot of moves. They spent a lot of money. But the problem with me with this, they didn't get many great players, right? They spent a lot of money, and I'll applaud them for, being a bad team and not just sitting there and saying, hey, we'll be bad. But actually going out and making moves. Robert Hunt, 5 years, $100 million, which is outrageous at this time, of course. In 5 years
definitely.
it'll be. Damian Lewis, again, they're providing help for Bryce Young, right? They're providing help. They got Deontay Johnson, which I thought was fine. They got their long
snapper back.
They got their long snapper back.
Sounds like the Cowboys like last week when they got nobody or did anything in free agency. Oh, we re-signed our long snapper.
They got Dane Jackson. They got DJ Wanham. This is a team that is in a bad spot because they're not good and they can't attract free agents because who wants to play for the Carolina Panthers?
And they don't have any draft picks.
And they spent a lot of money. I'm giving them a C minus. Because they did spend money, and I applaud the effort. It's the thought that counts. But when you spend a combined, let's see here, 20, 13, and 8, when you spend a combined $40 million on your top 3 players, and the best guy you get's Robert Hunt, no disrespect for him, right? And I understand you get receiving options, receiving help for Bryce Young, as Robert Hunt did reach over the end zone once.
Against the Ravens.
But you don't get any game changers. There's no game changers. And I understand the gradual upgrades, but you need a lot of gradual upgrades. And teams, you've seen in the NBA, you need a star. You need a star. And of course, their time is coming. But right now, I don't see Carolina making any moves. They've made moves, but nothing that pushes the needle. This goes from a 2-win team to a 2-win team.
I will be giving them a D.
A D, wow.
They didn't do much. Like you said,
You'll be giving them a D.
They made an effort.
You're giving them a D? What?
What do you mean by that?
Get on with it.
I said a D. What's wrong with that?
Yeah, I don't know either.
They
made an effort.
Yeah, that's literally, they made an effort. They're providing help for Bryce Young because he needed it last year very bad. For O-line, that's really about it. They did a little bit of help on defense, and for wide receivers, they're still lacking a little bit there. Deontay Johnson, I mean, yeah, he's a decent wide receiver.
And Adam Thielen, I don't know how long he's going.
Hopefully, Deontay Johnson will thrive more in
thrive.
that Carolina in the Panthers offense than what he did with the Steelers fighting with George Pickens and everything.
I would just like to let you know, guys, I'm the only one in this room. I'm actually been practicing ventriloquisty. So let me know how I do when I'm not speaking. I'm in my throat speaking.
In my throat is crazy.
Let's move on to the Chicago Bears. First off, before we do, I'd like to call myself out. I said the Panthers tried. In the NFL, you got to win. All right, it ain't about trying. Okay, you don't get participation trophies. I'm mad at myself for saying, "Oh, they tried to get players." That's not enough, especially when you're a team in Carolina that has
Sounds
had
like
one
something
Super
that
Bowl
would be
run, or
said
actually
in
two
Remember
Super
the
Bowl runs.
Titans.
You have to try. Okay, no, you don't have to try. You have to succeed. It's not about
Sounds like
trying.
something in
It's
Remember
about
the
succeeding.
Titans.
You want to say it again?
And Remember the Titans was like, yeah, we tried at least, but
They
got
won.
blown out by 80 or
They
something.
won.
Shut up.
Let's move on to the Chicago Bears. A plus, A plus, A plus, A
Ooh,
plus.
long snapper.
I love this Bears free agency. I said it a couple weeks ago on the podcast. Don't know if it was uploaded again, but the Bears Super Bowl window is open now, and with a rookie quarterback, that's weird to say, but they bring back Jalen Johnson. They have DeAndre Swift. They're able to get Kevin Byard, who's fine, not going to move the needle all that much. Of course, Keenan Allen in a trade. They have such an amazing group of guys to complement Caleb Williams. Like, if this is I would like to, like, if it's not the Bears, if you just take the name label off and you say, okay, this guy's going to have two top 15 receivers coming in. He's going to have an experienced running back, a top 10 tight end. You would just say, oh my goodness, they're going to succeed, right? They're going to be able to handle him. But since it's the Bears and they have a track record of not being able to develop quarterbacks, there's where the red flags come in. But I think right now they set themselves up as best as they can. And as a front office, that's all you can do is set yourself up and hope the coaches and players succeed in it. A plus. Again, A plus for the Bears. Keenan Allen, I thought, was the best move of the free agency for them with a trade. The window is open, but you can't wait for it to be open. You got to open it yourself. They do it there.
Excuse me. For the Bears, I will be giving them a minus. Great additions. Feel like for them it might have been the best move to get rid of Justin Fields. Mm-hmm. Everybody's very complacent about that.
That is not the word.
Yeah, I don't know.
Complacent means like in the middle. Like
then, yeah,
average.
So then I was
average.
Okay.
Like if you're complacent, you're okay with being 8-9, 8-9, 8-9.
I mean, they have
everybody's average about Justin Fields.
I mean, yeah, kind of
weird take. But yeah, A plus.
I mean, it's between him and Caleb Williams. They made some
really?
great additions. They kept good play, like Jalen Johnson, very underrated cornerback.
Mm-hmm. Really
very good for them. But also Keenan Allen's aging, Kevin Byard's aging.
I think
it's good to add for 2-3 years, and then it's kind of going to be like
aging is not always bad.
No,
we get to this.
I mean, Keenan Allen, if you bring in,
we've seen
some
Mike
wide
Evans.
receivers.
Mike Evans been so long.
Yeah, but Keenan Allen has gotten hurt a lot.
I know, but
unlike Mike Evans.
Sometimes you got to get an aging player. Like teams that just look for the future don't usually succeed because guess what? The future's never going to come if you keep looking for the future. I mean, if I say I'll do it tomorrow every day, tomorrow's never going to come if I say tomorrow every day. Same thing with NFL teams. If we're going to do it next year, and next year's always next year, next year's never going to come. So A plus for Chicago. I love the moves. Cincinnati, I'm going to give them a B minus. I'll tell you why. So they bring back T. Higgins. I thought was the right move. They didn't freak out. We've seen teams a lot of times, they have a quarterback injured or whatnot. They freak out, right? This is still a team that, if you remember correctly, went into San Francisco when the Niners were hot and beat them by 2 touchdowns with Joe Burrow. This was a team that was hot with Joe Burrow. Of course, fell off. They didn't panic. They didn't reset their identity. They brought back the guys. They got Trent Brown on the offensive line for Burrow, so he's got 2 giants on each tackle position for him. They didn't freak out. They did what they had to do, and I like the move for the Bengals. B minus, it's okay.
I will be giving them a C. Brought back T. Higgins, like you said. Mm-hmm. Weren't very big, notable free agency signings. Ones that'll help the team, definitely. feel like if as long as Joe Burrow can stay healthy, the team stays healthy, everything like that.
Mm-hmm.
I can't read that, but they're trying to go back. I hope they're trying to go back to the playoffs like they did. The AFC North
That's
is probably
kind of the
one of
goal
the
of the
hardest
NFL
divisions.
teams.
Feel like they'll do good over this season if everybody stays healthy.
All right, so the Bengals, we're going to give a, what'd you give them?
C.
C? Taking a while, you know.
Yeah, I know.
All right.
You're the one yabbering,
I
bud.
am
You need
yabbering.
to hurry up. I give like a little brief, detailed explanation.
So we'll cut it off right here.
Okay, and then we'll just do that next week.
Yeah.
All
There's more. So the Bengals get a B minus from me. Our original plan was to do all 32 teams, but Wayne would not shut up. Just kidding. I will not shut up. So we're going to cut it off at about 15 to 17 right now, and do the other 15 to 17 next week because we still have other stuff to get to talk to.
That's exactly half.
So let's move on to the next team on our list, the Cleveland Browns. This was a weird team because they made a deep playoff, not a deep playoff run. They made the playoffs with Joe Flacco. We all knew that was not a year-to-year what am I word here? Year-to-year,
Excuse me, sorry, guys.
a year-to-year practical outcome.
Sorry for the one viewer that so happens to be me.
With Joe Flacco. So they got Jameis Winston, right? They go on that same blueprint. They re-signed some of their guys. They get Jerry Jeudy, who is just a jag, just another guy, in the words of Steve Smith. They make a little moves again in a division where I don't think you can make little moves. We've seen every team in that division actually make moves. Pittsburgh gets their 2 QBs. The Ravens get Derrick Henry. The Bengals get an offensive lineman. And there's not much here that moves the needle for the Browns. I'll give them a C. It's about the middlest, averagest draft or free agency I could possibly imagine.
Yeah, I was going to go with the same rating here. Didn't add much. They got like 2 players that'll help them out a decent amount, but besides that, they didn't really get much.
I don't think anybody...
Is Nick Chubb?
Yeah, he'll be back.
Dude, I've seen nothing. Like, nothing. Since that injury, I've seen nothing. No rehab, nothing.
Because
like,
Nick Chubb is like Kawhi Leonard. He doesn't talk. He doesn't get in the news. Like Kawhi Leonard, when he retires, nobody's ever going to hear about him ever again. Like Tim Duncan,
Dude, like, I've seen nothing with Nick Chubb. Dude,
because
Tariq Cohen had more notable thing coming in rehab than what Nick Chubb has had.
Yikes.
Nick Chubb, don't make a live video of you training, please. Don't tear your Achilles or anything.
So let's move on to the Dallas Cowboys. But before we do, with the Browns, nobody took them seriously last year, like throughout the playoffs. We all kind of joked, hey, it'd be funny to see Flacco win.
I took them serious in regular season. I didn't take them serious in playoffs.
But like we all kind of understood when they got to the postseason, this is kind of on the downward trend, and it happened against Houston. It's okay. Right? We'll have to see.
Will be a top 15 wide receiver next year.
We'll have to see what happens with Deshaun Watson if he can start playing like a quarterback again. But if he can't,
and not go to massages.
The Dallas Cowboys. I'll make this short and simple. I'm going to give them a D. They didn't do much. And Jerry Jones has said they are all in, which I find it hard to believe.
Yeah.
If their biggest moves, Eric Kendricks in the year 2023 or 2024. Eric Kendricks, your best guy to sign. They didn't really make any moves. They let some guys go. They lost Pollard. They lost Dorrance Armstrong. They lost some players.
Is Vaughn going to be the starter, you think?
No, Rico Dowdle or a running back they draft.
Devontae Turpin has moved to running back now.
So I give him a D. It's not good. And it's one thing if you're a team like San Francisco, which we'll get into tomorrow or next week. They didn't make any moves. They didn't make any moves, really, and I had them at a better grade. Because sometimes you don't have to make moves. Just because you have money doesn't mean you need to spend it, right? But the Dallas Cowboys, there's a lot of turmoil in that team, it feels like, with Dak Prescott, the contract. He probably will be negotiating in 2025. So from a logical standpoint, if Dak is negotiating in 2025, wouldn't you want to get your spending out now? And when it's come to 2025, you can still go over the cap just a little bit and have those guys already on the books. Cowboys.
Their free agency was so bad, I can't even give them an F. I'm going to give them an F minus.
F minus, wow.
They did absolutely nothing over free agency. Like you said, they lost some players, and their best signing was Eric Kendricks.
Yeah, I'm hearing Jerry Jones
And-
slept in past the 12 o'clock deadline, so he woke up at like, no, I'm kidding. He woke up at like 5 o'clock and they didn't make any moves.
Nothing. And this is and the fans again this year are going to be like, this is our Super Bowl year.
Well, let's not have a good rap. Like, every fan base that is good says it's their year. Like, every team. Like, let's just not talk about the Cowboys. It's like, blah, blah, blah.
Thank God I'm not part
Like,
of them.
Chiefs fans, well, Chiefs
Obviously.
Ravens, Bills, every team you're going to think it's
Yes.
your year.
But, like,
Cowboys
they
just
have
fact to get
said
made
this
fun
for
of.
the past, 5 years.
I have not seen any Cowboys fan actually say it. I just hear people saying they
Do you
say
live
it.
in Texas?
Like,
Then
I-
that's why. Then stop talking. Then
I-
stop talking.
I know-
Then stop talking. Stop talking. Stop talking.
do you live in Texas? So
No,
stop talking.
no.
Let's move on to the Denver.
I actually live in Denver.
Speaking
Texas.
of Denver Broncos.
Oh, okay.
I'm giving them a D-. If you want to set up a young rookie quarterback,
Oh, yeah, that's
this is
another
the
F
exact
right there.
opposite thing you should do. They made no moves. No moves. They got Adam Troutman as their highest spender. Actually got Brandon Jones from the Miami
I
Dolphins.
thought that said 75 million. I did what you did. I thought that said 2 years 75 for Adam Troutman. Oh my God.
So, D-. They lost Justin Simmons. They lost Jerry Jeudy. This team is very bad.
Yeah, I'm gonna be like the Cowboys. They're gonna get an F. They
F,
didn't
back-to-back Fs.
even make like an actual decent sign. Like the Cowboys got Eric Kendricks. They needed some linebacker help since they usually blitz Micah Parsons. They have done nothing.
Nothing.
They're gonna get an E minus.
E-. Wow, that is disrespectful.
But like, oh my God,
Let's go on a
I had
bet-
belief in them last year, and then this year they just
You're going to be back on your Broncos train?
no.
Your Broncos?
My team this year is gonna be Saints.
The Saints? We'll see how that goes.
I don't know because they're in the NFC South, and the 3 teams in there are gonna be as good as the Saints.
Detroit Lions. Let's go on a more positive note. I'm giving them an A+. I'm giving them an A+. Graham Glasnow is an absolute steal at 3 years, $20 million to re-sign. He's the best center in the league.
Dan Skipper,
Okay, he reported.
shut up.
No, he didn't. DJ Reader, they needed a D-line help bad. They didn't, do much, but at the same time, you don't need to do much. Let's bring them back. Let's bring the guys back. Carlton Davis, they need secondary and defensive line. They've addressed it. Bring it back.
No, Cam Sutton was fine. He's a murderer. Oh, he's a killer on and off the field.
But it's fine for Detroit. And sometimes that's all you have to be is fine. A+.
For me, they'll be getting an A minus. Like you said, there isn't much that they have to do. They got help with their secondary. All they need right now is, probably a linebacker, something like that.
Hey,
Jack
Jack
Campbell is
Campbell.
just a rookie. He's
He'll
still
get better.
developing. You either bring in an older linebacker who can help him he could be a mentor, or you could try and bring in another young linebacker.
What I like is sometimes we see this across any sports league. You have a young kind of nucleus, and they kind of get overshadowed by veterans, and they can never reach their full potential, right? That the Lions let them go, right? They have so many young guys that they were able to draft well. Of course, Jahmyr Gibbs, right, with David Montgomery there as well. Sam Laporta, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jack Campbell, Brian Branch, Aiden Hutchinson. The young nucleus, let's keep it together, build around somewhere else, but let's not disrupt that. You got something good going, let's not disrupt it. Moving on to another NFC North team, the Green Bay Packers. I'm going to give them an A+ as well. Because I think they've learned their lesson with the Aaron Rodgers stuff. You have to give the guy weapons. And they've realized, I understand we could say the Packers have a drafting, pattern. It's not going to work for the rest of history, right? When Jordan Love's career is over, who knows if they can draft a good QB. So they understand the recipe with Rodgers. They never drafted a first-round receiver for Aaron Rodgers. They go get Josh Jacobs, who did they pay a lot for? Yes. Sometimes you have to? Yes. They let Aaron Jones go, Xavier McKinney back into the safety help. It's, again, not a lot in terms of players, a lot in terms of impact, and I think Green Bay is now ready to contend with Detroit. A+.
I will be giving them an A-. Made good additions, especially with Xavier McKinney. I feel like they let go the better running back. I think Aaron
Really?
Jones
No.
was better than Josh
Whoa.
Jacobs.
Aaron Jones
Dude,
better than
Aaron
Josh
Jones is
Jacobs?
a much more better receiving threat than Josh
Okay.
Jacobs and as good as a runner.
Okay, but no, he's not as good as a runner. Josh Jacobs is about 3 years younger.
Yeah.
So they basically just reset the timer on Aaron Jones.
I get what
Aaron
you
Jones
mean,
is 29.
but I feel like
Yeah.
I feel like Aaron Jones.
I see where you come from a little bit. This is my number one team of free agency.
Holy
And
crap,
if
people
I was
did
a fan of this
sign?
team, I'd be on cloud nine right now. It's the Houston Texans. They have made so many great moves. Joe Mixon from the Bengals. They have a workhorse now. They bring back Dalton Schultz. They get Aziz Al-Shair from the Tennessee Titans.
I thought he
Also
was
from
on
the
the Giants.
also
Was that his
from
brother?
I don't know.
I
Also
know
from
there's
the
two of those.
also from the Tennessee Titans, Danico Autry, right? Daniel Hunter from the Vikings. They bring back Desmond King. They get Tim Settle. They get Noah Brown back. They are doing everything right to be in a spot to win this year. That is so dangerous to say with Tank Dell coming back for year two, with Nico Collins coming back, with D'Amico Ryans, who I have all the faith in the world in. Houston is really dangerous. They've got their edge threat. I mean, I would love to be a Texans fan right now. CJ Stroud, Joe Mixon, Nico Collins, Tank Dell, Dalton Schultz if you want as a offensive core. And then, yeah, your edge rushers are Will Anderson and Daniil Hunter. And you have Derek Stingley in the secondary. And you were in the second round of the playoffs last year, and your team's going to get much better. So this is a trendy pick, of course, from everybody. Everybody and their mother, when we get to NFL playoff predictions next year, are going to have the Texans at least in the conference title game. And I could see it at this point in time. A plus, A plus, A plus. They did everything right.
I will be giving them an A.
Wow, you just not want to give out A pluses today, huh? You're a strict bidder.
Kill yourself. All right,
Okay.
Texans get an A plus.
Okay. Moving on to the Indianapolis Colts.
No, you know what? I'm not falling into the peer pressure. They're getting an A.
Okay.
They're getting an A. Great additions for the team, obviously. Gonna be interesting to see how they do these next 5 years
A
with
long time.
the amount of people they have. Most of their team is young, but also they've got aging players.
Not really. Everybody's got
Daniil
aging
Hunter.
players. Yeah. Aging player. The Indianapolis Colts, Michael Pittman got a huge contract. Zaire Franklin, they bring back. Grover Stewart again. Kenny Moore. Joe Flacco, I think, is probably the most underrated signing out here because are we really confident Anthony Richardson is going to play all the games next year? No. So Minshew was
I
a
feel
good.
like Jaden Daniels might be an Anthony Richardson. Might get hurt.
Jaden Daniels probably less athletic. Worse.
No. I'm talking about.
Yeah.
They'll have the same storyline.
Yeah,
I
you
feel
could
like
say.
Jaden Daniels will probably get injured.
I could see. But Anthony Richardson, given the full range of the offense, I mean, he could be better than CJ Stroud, which is saying a lot.
Yes.
But when he played, he was electric. But will he play? Right? So I don't know about Anthony Richardson's whole health timeline, but you probably got the best backup QB on the market right now. And that's a huge addition, one of the more underrated ones. That being said, it's a B plus for Indianapolis. They kept up with the rest of the AFC South. Probably a little bit worse free agency than Tennessee. Probably a little bit better than Jacksonville, worse than Houston, but still in a really, really good spot to succeed.
I will be giving the Colts a B.
B?
Good addition with, well, not a good addition. Good thing they kept Michael Pittman. They added
Nice addition.
Kenny Moore. I thought he was already on their team.
Kenny Moore was also on the team.
Yeah, Kenny Moore coming back. Good secondary player. I think he's really underrated. Really underrated.
Yep.
So
yeah. Jacksonville next. This is a D for me. This is a not good free agency class.
no, but they have Mac Jones.
Yeah, it's probably great. Gabe Davis, 3 years, $39 million. About $39 million too much.
Yeah.
Ezra Cleveland, who's a Viking, I don't know why he got that much money. Maybe it's just me being a pessimistic Vikings fan. He sucked. Josh Allen on the franchise tags, whatever. Mac Jones, whatever. Mitch Morse, whatever. Darnell Savage, whatever. It's a bunch of whatevers. Nothing gets me going here. Maybe Eric Armstead, 3 years, $51 million. But, like, is that who we're investing in money in? Eric Armstead. And Jacksonville went from a team a couple years ago. They were like what the Texans are now. Young quarterback, new coach, and this team's going to be a Super
but
Bowl
Urban
contender.
Meyer was a terrible coach.
Yeah, I'm talking about Doug Peterson.
No.
I'm not. I'm not talking about him.
Nobody was talking about Doug Peterson for like the first year he was there.
But they made the
Dude, I had high hopes in the Jaguars, and then they just let me down.
everybody
These past
did.
3 years,
Everybody
I've had
did.
high. Like when they brought in Doug Peterson, I was like, wow, he's gonna turn this franchise around, and they're gonna go playoffs immediately.
So they made the divisional round against Kansas City, lost, came back this past year. They were the number 1 seed in the AFC, 8-3, tied with a bunch of teams. Missed the playoffs, went 8-9. So
Yeah.
they didn't do enough for me. That I think
It
they're
reminds me of the Eagles' downfall.
they're comfortably the 3rd best team in the AFC South for me right now, behind Houston and behind Indianapolis. It is a D for Jacksonville. Like there's not one player here that I think's a game changer. Like
But Devin Duvernay.
Gabe Davis is not like, man, we won the game because we had Gabe Davis on our team. Nobody's ever said that in their life.
For me, the Jaguars get a C minus. Good addition with Eric Armstead. Good thing they added on to the O line, but Gabe Davis was wholly overpay.
Yeah.
I mean, oh my god, he had that one good game with the Chiefs, and I feel like any Bills fan thinks that was the worst thing to happen for Gabe Davis. He
That was, I mean, he was
had
so
that
hyped.
one good game.
He doesn't have that one good game. He's the 4th string on the Bills.
Nobody would know who he is still.
Yeah.
He'd be like, oh, who's number 10 on the Bills?
13.
No, number 10.
Khalil Shakir.
Yeah, he's
better.
He's underrated, but he's getting these good games going, but he's being consistent.
I mean,
Gabe Davis is going to have one good game where he goes for like 200 yards. Next 3 games, he's going for 20 combined.
Finally, the Kansas City Chiefs. This is a mixed feeling. They brought back Chris Jones, which is fine. L'Jarius Sneed got traded. It's a necessary evil. I've said that word a lot, but necessary evil. They brought back all their guys, really. But they get Marquise Brown, which I think is huge, providing Patrick Mahomes with a weapon down the field, vertical. And Kansas City very quickly, I think, has turned themselves into a top 10 receiving group, counting Travis Kelce. We expect a Rashee Rice jump with a great rookie year, Hollywood Brown, and then Travis Kelce. Quickly, it's a solid enough group. And if we're talking about Kansas City had all the drops last year, led the league in drops by like 7, that's not going to happen every year. Mostly because number 19's gone, but it's not usually going to happen every single year. And if they won the Super Bowl last year, like they couldn't get better last year, right? They could obviously get like better, but the end result is the top of the top. You can't get better than that, of course. And they had so much turmoil in the team. It's a C plus, but my confidence in Kansas City winning the Super Bowl is 10. It was a 10 last week. It'll be a 10 next week.
For me, the Chiefs will get a C. Brought back Chris Jones, brought injured Tranquil, Marquise Brown, but losing L'Jarius Sneed, I feel like is going to be a very, very big thing that will almost, I think, make or break a game that they have.
Maybe, but like I think with Trent McDuffie still being on the team, with Trent McDuffie still being on the team, and with the ability Kansas City has at developing players, I think it's fine. I think it's perfectly fine for the Kansas City Chiefs. As Wayne has left me to go to the bathroom, we're going to move on to the March Madness bracket. Our March Madness bracket, mine is completely busted, but some predictions here for March Madness. I will only participate in this because he doesn't know that much. I'll get quickly in and out of it. So let's start with UConn and San Diego State. The Aztecs and the Huskies. It's a rematch of the national title game. I'll make it completely quick and dry. I think UConn wins running away by about 15 points. They're dominant. They are a wagon. UConn is an absolute wagon right now. They, dating back to last tournament, have not lost or won by less than 13. UConn by a lot. Let's move on to Illinois and Iowa State. Terrence Shannon, number 1 scorer left in the tournament. I think that's enough. I like Illinois. The offense is electric. Illinois versus UConn in the Elite Eight is a game that will feed families. This is an amazing game. If you're a college basketball fan, you got to watch this one. But I think UConn's just a little bit too much. I like the Huskies going back to the Final Four. Let's move to the right side on the South region. The 4 teams left in the South, Houston and Duke. I think Houston has shown their vulnerability. Almost lost to Texas A&M. They, I wouldn't say are a one-trick pony, but they are a one trick pony that their other trick sucks. Like they have their specialty trick, and then it's like, oh, I can do multiple, but the other thing sucks. They are great at defending. I think Duke can spread them out with Filipowski and McCain. I think Duke goes to the Elite Eight, which is crazy. Duke has not beaten a team lower seeded than them since 1994. I think that changes. NC State Marquette, I think Adigaboo, that's not his name, Osa Adigabue or something like that. Tyler Kolek and the Golden Eagles are enough. Marquette moves on against Duke. And to go to the Final Four, I do have the Duke Blue Devils in the Final Four. Let's move on to the bottom side. North Carolina, Alabama. Tar Heels Tide. I'm just doing this one. Tar Heels and Tide. I think too much firepower on North Carolina. Alabama does not want to defend. And with R.J. Davis and Armando Bacot, I think it's a little bit too much. Arizona and Clemson. Maybe it's just because I picked Clemson to lose in the first round, and they're in the Sweet 16. Give me Arizona and Caleb Love. And then North Carolina and Arizona. Big rematch. I mean, Caleb Love was at North Carolina for 3 years, didn't work out, went to Arizona, and they have a real strong chance in this one. And I'm going to actually pick Arizona to beat North Carolina. I think I think Arizona has just dominated their way through the tournament so far. I have a lot of faith in the Wildcats. I think Arizona goes to the Final Four to play UConn. And then Purdue Gonzaga, probably the best game out here this week. Such a great game. I think Gonzaga has enough big men to slow down Edey. I think Edey still eats, no pun intended, but Gonzaga win.
He'll be eating those McDonald's burgers.
Creighton and Tennessee. Dalton Connect versus, what's his name on Creighton? Kolkbrenner. I like Connect winning and going to the Final Four. Final Four predictions. Quick little one here. UConn and Arizona versus Duke and Tennessee. I think UConn is able to outlast Arizona. I think Arizona gives them their best battle, closer than many people would think. Maybe a 2-3 point game. UConn in the national title game, and they will take on Tennessee. And Tennessee moves on against Duke. Dalton Connect and company, too much to be had. UConn and Tennessee in the national title game. Let's not overthink it. It's UConn. It's the Huskies. They win. They go back to back, and they cement themselves as a true blue blood. Zway is back in here today. We're 52 minutes down here on the greatest podcast on earth. Don't know how much we'll get into, but that's fine because next week we'll have a packed episode. We'll have half the teams more in free agency. We'll have more things to talk about. We'll talk about a couple of things here. We're going to cover Caleb Williams and his off-the-field issues, what that will affect. And then we're going to have a quote by Antonio Pierce regarding J.J. McCarthy to close out this segment. Let's start off with Caleb Williams and more off-the-field issues. They've just circulated since a while. Of course, you all know about him crying to his mom after they lost to some team, maybe Notre Dame. He paints his nails like F Utah and whatnot. Is he a little immature? I would say so. The only problem I'd have with Caleb Williams is he willing to not change, but be more mature in the NFL locker room? And I don't know how much this is true today, but an NFL locker room is dangerous. They're going to eat that man up, right? I mean, there's so many guys in there, big, old-timer guys that are just, if he comes in there with paint and nails, he's going to get his ass beat.
Dude, he's going to get chewed out.
Not really, but not like, but.
No, but he will definitely get.
He'll get a little bit made fun of. Any rookie gets made fun of, right? You've heard the stories about rookie dinners and whatnot.
I can only imagine what his rookie dinner bill's going to be, dude. They're going to rack that up.
So can he...
Actually, he won't go out. He'll be painting his nails. He won't pay for it.
Can he take the criticism is the big thing. The thing is that I think makes Caleb Williams incredible is all the criticism is not the on-the-field stuff. It's all the off-the-field stuff. I have not heard one guy when they say, I don't think Caleb Williams is going to be good, and the reasons are blah, blah, blah,
His
blah, blah.
Talent, it's
nothing on the field. They can't point to a play as like, man, I don't think he's going to be good because of this, right? So I think Caleb Williams can handle the off-the-field issues pretty fine. How much are you reading into this? Is this an overblown kind of story with his off-the-field kind of cocky behavior, or does it really matter for the Bears?
I feel like it's about 50-50. Okay. I mean, your off-the-field stuff definitely plays a big part of how you play sometimes. And if this is how he is almost all the time off the field, I feel like it'll end up coming into his game and he'll be less mature on the actual field. And It could go one of two ways. So he can either fix it, he'll be a great quarterback for the next umpteen years, or he doesn't change it, and it ends up taking an effect on him, and he can end up like Jamarcus Russell or something.
Yeah, let's say that. But this is not the first time we've seen quote-unquote diva players. Like Eli Manning just didn't want to play for the Chargers and just didn't go to the Chargers in 2004. So Caleb Williams, I will say this, going to Chicago, he's going to get shapened up real quickly, right? You can't be...
He's going to get shot at.
I wouldn't want to say soft, but like you can't be sensitive going to Chicago, no matter where you go in that city. It's a hard-nosed, tough city. They're going to curse you out if you walk in front of them, blah, 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 blah. Same thing with Chicago, a big fan base. So he's got to have thick skin. And let's say it how it is. I don't know Caleb Williams personally. I've never talked to him, never seen him. So
I have.
I've seen the stuff on him, right? So I don't know if he's a thick-skinned type of guy that can take stuff. But in the National Football League, you got to be. And, I don't want to sound like an old-timer here, but you can't really be crying to your mom every time in the NFL. We'll see how that gets shapened up. But you can't lose the game and then cry to your mom. Or at least do it in private so they can't get pictures of you. Finally, we're going to close with everybody's favorite player to hate. Their favorite player to hate is J.J. McCarthy. He's the most polarizing draft prospect I've seen in a long time. What I find funny is all the NFL teams are high on J.J. McCarthy. The only people not are commenters on Instagram. So I don't know who should I trust, NFL GMs or Big Boy 86529X on Instagram.
Definitely Big Boy X. And I guarantee you he spelled Big Boy like boys. He spelled it with a Z instead of like an S or something.
Antonio Pierce, Raiders head coach, had an interesting comment on J.J. McCarthy. He said he's a winner. He's a national champion. He's surprised he's not a top 3 consensus player. So J.J. McCarthy...
J.J. McCarthy to the Raiders, confirmed.
J.J. McCarthy has risen up boards and stock. In January, he was plus 5,000 to be the number 2 pick. Now he's plus 400 to be the number 2 pick. So it's rising a lot. Is the hype overblown, or are you buying into it, or are you in between?
In between, definitely. He deserves some of this hype, not as much as he's getting, I feel like. I don't feel like he'll be a top 2 pick. I feel like he'll be the 4th quarterback off the board, which most people would expect.
All right, what pick would he have to go high to be like, that's a bad pick, that's a reach?
Above 6.
Above 6. So, if he goes 7, it's like, it's, yeah.
I mean,
but, if it's pick 5 or whatever, you think it's too much?
Very little.
Okay.
If the team needs a quarterback and they don't get the 4 that are definitely, supposed to be chosen. But, 5th, you look at it. Okay, so you think Caleb Williams goes 1. Drake May or Jaden Daniels goes 2 and 3.
Yeah.
4 is the Cardinals. They have Kyler Murray.
People are going to trade. People are going to trade up.
If there's no trades.
There's going to be.
Yeah, we know. 5th pick is what? The Giants?
Yeah.
They either stick with Daniel Jones' contract.
The Chargers at 5.
Oh, yeah. They have Justin Herbert. And then the Giants, they either stick with Daniel Jones' contract or they get a quarterback.
Yeah.
So that puts him at 6. So
my take on J.J. McCarthy, he's very raw. He's very
he's played at IMG, bro. He's played good.
Yeah.
Opponents.
He's going to be a guy that in his rookie year is going to have a lot of lowlights that you're going to be like, man, why was this guy even a first-round pick?
It's going to be like Bryce.
But or like a Josh Allen guy, where in his first couple years sucked. But after a couple of years, I think J.J. McCarthy, out of all the quarterbacks, is not a guy you want starting day 1.
I feel like J.J. McCarthy is going to be like a Kirk Cousins type of player. He will get you. He will get you to the playoffs. But besides that, I feel like he will not get you a Super Bowl. He's like Kirk Cousins. Exactly. He will get you to the playoffs. He'll get you this.
My take on J.J. McCarthy when it comes to draft night, if he goes top 5, I wouldn't be completely shocked. If he goes over Jaden Daniels, I raise an eyebrow.
Yeah.
I raise an eyebrow. If he goes over Drake May, I think it's a travesty. But if he goes over Jaden Daniels,
over Caleb Williams, nobody cares.
If he goes over Jaden Daniels, I'm like, that's surprising. Okay, we'll see how it works out. If he goes over Drake May, I'm shocked. J.J. McCarthy is very good, but there's 2 ends of the spectrum. There's some guys that say he should be a 3rd-round pick. There's some guys that say he's a top 3 pick.
I think people who say him as a third-round pick is because they just think he can't throw.
Yeah,
I
just
mean,
because he
they're
didn't
they're
throw at Michigan doesn't mean he can't.
Yeah. I mean, his pro day wasn't bad, but you just got to see him actually playing with a defense and offense, everything.
Well, we saw
He was pretty good throwing, even against the Rose Bowl against Alabama, and Alabama has great secondary and everything, and he was not doing too bad.
He's a guy that NFL teams look at. We've seen it before that like, it's there. They just want to get their hands on him. Pause. And they want to get their hands on this quarterback.
That was the worst.
They
you could
like
thought.
you want to get your
His hands on him.
We've seen it with guys that are so raw. You want to get their hands on them,
Jesus,
and just be able to kind of fix them up.
I'm clipping that one.
Fix them up a little bit. Get your hands on them.
I'm clipping this.
So yeah, we've hit the hour mark. This is our first test on a live stream. Hopefully Wayne will join us on screen next week.
Hopefully
next
they
week
can actually hear me. And I swear, if this didn't pick up any of my voice through this entire hour, I'm done. I'm unaliving myself.
Folks, next week we're going to be talking about the Chargers' direction they went, the Titans' direction they went, and then the last half, the next 16 teams free agency, grading them.
Some more.
And then we'll do our Final Four March Madness predictions. This is it for Talking About Balls. Thank you guys for joining us on this live stream. We'll see you by next week. Are we gone?